Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey guys, I just launched my new book, The Dating Playbook for Men, a proven 7-step system to go from single to the woman of your dreams on Amazon now. It's currently ranked number 3 in the relationships category on Amazon. Inside this action-packed book, you'll learn how to deepen your masculine polarity to unleash the man within, how to build an awesome social life that women want to be around, how to understand what women want and desire, how to go out and meet women to build a mindset of abundance, how to go from getting her phone number to effortlessly setting up the first date, how to have a perfect first, second, and third date, and how to have happy and loving relationships and be the grounded man that she so badly wants. You can get the book now at knowledgeformen.com/playbook. Or simply go to Amazon and search Dating Playbook for Men. You're going to like what you see. I guarantee it. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Sir John Hargrave, the CEO of Media Shower, a premier content marketing company and author of the upcoming book, Mind Hacking, which is about how to reprogram your mind and change your life. All right, John, happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here and impart some knowledge for men. By men. We're both men. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's going to be a good show here. All right, and let's dive in now, John, with a favorite success quote of yours, something that you've lived by. What do you got for us? And share with us what that means to you, why you chose that.
Mine is simple, and it's this. Your brain can be reprogrammed. That's it. Your brain can be reprogrammed. The thoughts that we have, we don't have to live with them. We can actually reprogram them. And I think to realize that, to me, is one of the most exciting and empowering thoughts that you can imagine, because it means that you're not bound by your thoughts. You can actually change them the same way you'd program a computer, and you can really program your entire life to go into exciting new directions. Your brain can be reprogrammed.
All right, it's an exciting topic for today's episode here. So let's dive in. Like, I'm interested in how you got to this point in your life where you've come up with all these different mind hacking techniques, and how did you actually dive into this? Like, what got you started into this, and what are some of the crazy things you've done while on this journey?
The story that I tell in the opening chapter of Mind Hacking is about my struggle with alcohol and drugs. I've been sober now for 8 years, but there came a moment, and I won't spoil the story, but the Secret Service showed up on my doorstep. And, you know, when the Secret Service comes to your house, that's probably a sign that something has gone wrong in your life. And so I made this decision. I was going to throw away all my alcohol and drugs that night. And it was such an it was the most difficult thing I've probably ever done. And part of what makes it difficult, getting sober, and I mean, if you've ever tried to conquer any habit, like losing weight or starting a business or avoiding procrastination, you find that your mind can be your worst enemy. So actually learning to deal with and wrestle with your own mind, I think, is foundational for making any kind of change in your life. And so as I was getting sober over those first few months, I basically began to read everything I could and develop a catalog, a series of these techniques or tricks that we can use to reprogram our mind. We call them mind hacks. And that book, Mind Hacking, is a collection of these hacks, these techniques. And it's those techniques that I'm really excited to share with your audience today, Andrew.
So let's start off with, how does mind hacking even work? You said you can reprogram it like a computer. Dive into that, elaborate more on that.
Well, there's 3 steps. So the first step is that we have to become aware of our minds. First of all, we have to become aware. So if I ask you just to think about your mind for a second, just do that with me. Think about your own mind. You can quickly see that there's something called a mind and there's something called you. You're not your mind. You're separate from your mind. And we all understand that intellectually, but living with that on an everyday basis and realizing that is a different matter. So the first step is trying to develop this awareness where throughout the day, we can actually become more aware and say, hey, that's a thought, that's my mind, and I don't have to believe everything my mind thinks. I don't have to believe everything I think. And then once we develop that awareness through some of the techniques in the book, you can then begin to debug the mind. So like a programmer will take a piece of programming code and debug it or find the errors, the problems. We can start to find those negative thought loops that are holding us back. And then we can reprogram them. That's the third step, is basically coming up with positive thought loops that we can then use to not only change our minds, but change our lives.
Wow. And so how can this be applied, let's say, in relationships? Let's say a single guy struggling with women and he's just dating, he's not getting the results that he's looking for. Let's use that as an example. How could mind hacks help a guy like that?
Sure. So if there's a specific problem that this person is running into, so a specific mental loop or negative loop that this this friend of a friend has.
Yeah, let's say he feels like he's not enough. Like he's just not, the confident guy. Doesn't feel like he's enough for the women that he wants. I think it's a common challenge some guy might be able to relate to who experiences that.
Yeah, it is common. And I think that being able to, first of all, become aware of when that thought is going through his mind. So basically, when is he telling himself that? And when is that actually leading to action in his life? That's the first part. And that's very difficult because I use the analogy of the mind movie. So imagine going to the movie theater. When the movie starts, you might be kind of like analyzing the movie and thinking about it. But then if it's a good movie, you get lost in it. And we get lost in our minds in the same way. Our minds are like a movie that's always playing, and we forget that it's just a movie, that we can actually pull ourselves out of it. So if your friend can take that idea of like, this is this negative thing that's going through my mind, that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough or smart enough or funny enough or good looking enough or whatever it is, and become aware of that, then he can begin to articulate what that negative thought loop is. So what is that thing that he's telling himself? And usually we're just barely conscious of that. So getting conscious of that, getting it, writing it down, and then figuring out what's the positive equivalent of that. In other words, how do I want to feel? How do I want to think about myself? So it might be, for example, I'm good with women. It's that simple. I'm good with women. And by repeating that to himself through some of the hacks or techniques in the book, he can start to slowly make that into a reality.
Got it. Okay. And taking the same idea, like if we were to apply this into then a different type of challenge, let's say money, maybe even someone who wants to build a business and they have a job right now and they're really trying to just break through and, they want to be an entrepreneur. They want to start their business, but like they just, in their mind, there's just a lot of resistance to doing that. Maybe fear of failure.
Yeah. I'm a successful entrepreneur, and I have run into this, especially in my early entrepreneurship career, a lot. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of thought of, I personally had thoughts of, I'm either not smart enough, or I don't have the resources that other people have, or other people are better at math, whatever it is. Like you can make up 100 different reasons why you're not good enough. And again, the trick is to become aware of those things and then to reprogram them. So I have many positive thought loops I've repeated to myself hundreds and thousands of times. And one of them is, I'm a successful entrepreneur. It's that simple. I'm a successful entrepreneur. And over time, you find that by repeating that to yourself, if you make time every day to repeat that, your field of perception will become greater, meaning you will become more open to opportunities as they arise because you're already sort of in that mindset. You're already in that sense of like, okay, maybe I am actually good at this. And so you start to notice opportunities where you wouldn't otherwise. I'll give you one more example from my personal life, which is, I used to be very awkward and self-conscious about speaking with people. Whenever I talk with somebody, I would always be thinking about like, am I standing up straight or do I have a piece of kale in my teeth? And then I became aware of that and just started to develop this new thought habit of I'm good with people. And it's that simple. I'm good with people. And then when I would talk with somebody and I would start to feel that kind of awkward self-consciousness, I would just say, I'm good with people. And then over time, it's kind of crazy, but guess what? I actually am kind of good with people. So it becomes like a weird sort of self-fulfilling prophecy when you do this stuff that you actually do tend to become the person that you want to be.
Even if you are not good with people, you're telling yourself, hey, I'm good with people. And this still kind of changes your mindset.
Well, I want to be clear that I don't believe in magical thinking, meaning I don't believe you just think something and it magically appears or manifests in your life. I really believe that you have to do the work. You have to do the work. However, your work is much more likely to succeed. And there's a lot of science behind this. We quote a lot of research studies in mind hacking about the studies that have shown that when people do these kind of techniques, these kind of mental hacks, that they are more likely to succeed when they put in the work. Because again, they're more likely to notice opportunities, to take risks, to get themselves in those situations. If you tell yourself, I'm no good at exercising, I'm a fat, lazy slob, the odds are you're never going to exercise, and therefore you will be bad at exercising. And so the reverse is also true. If you tell yourself, no, I'm actually healthy and in shape, you're more likely to jump on those opportunities. And if you do and do the work, then you will be healthy and in shape.
All right. Thanks for clarifying there. And even if we find something that we want to do, whether it's in our relationships or in business or even with our health, I mean, I think a lot of people have problems really just focusing, I think on something in the present, short-term task, or even just long-term goals they want to achieve that are really these grand goals, and they want to lose weight. They want to reach a certain level of income. They want to, they want to get married, or they want to find the woman of their dreams, whatever it is. How can you use mind hacking to improve this mental focus on short-term goals and also our long-term goals?
Mental focus is, I think, the great affliction of our time. And part of it is because our minds are naturally distracted. Everyone's minds are distracted. And you can see that very simply by just trying to sit and calm your mind for 10 minutes. You'll see how distracted they are. But also because we have so many technology interruptions around us. And one of the hacks in the book is called the 1 hour investment. And the idea is that you take inventory of all the things around you that are distracting you every day. So this would be things like your instant message window that's always open, or leaving Skype turned on for chat requests, or all the email lists you subscribe to, or text messaging. All of these things create what the psychologists call open task loops. So whenever one of those things interrupts you, not only does it take you away from your focus, away from the task at hand, but it also creates this mild kind of like psychic anxiety. It's like a little bit of stress that like I've got to close that open task loop. David Allen, who wrote the book Getting Things Done, he called it mental clutter. And so by taking an hour to shut down as many of those things as possible and just eliminate them entirely, we really can invest an hour in something that's going to pay dividends into the future by cutting down on the amount of daily interruptions and helping us stay more focused.
Got it. In your book, you talk about mental decluttering. Is this something that you could use in this here as well?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All the research shows that we are not able to multitask as humans. I define multitasking as doing 2 or more things badly at once. And there's all of this research that shows that every cognitive task you add to your already fractured attention means you do every one of those tasks worse. But we all think we're immune from this. Like we all think that I'm the one person who can answer email in a meeting or watch TV while I'm doing homework or whatever that is. But you can't. All the research shows you can't. So by eliminating distractions and then consciously focusing on one task at a time and developing a lifestyle, making it a habit that's how you operate on a daily basis, you're much more likely to succeed with your long-term goals and plans.
Yeah, I like that. You have something called 5 whys. Instead of just talking about it, I thought you could just do it on me. You could ask me why 5 times on and let's see how this, or you explain what it is and what's going to happen, and then just ask me a question, and then we'll let the audience experience it.
Okay. Are you willing to be vulnerable and open to your audience here, Andrew?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So the idea comes from this factory production technique that was invented by Toyota, who was the founder of what's now the Toyota Motor Company. And basically the philosophy was, if something goes wrong in your factory, you don't just fire the employee who was responsible, but you ask the question why 5 times. So you keep asking why until you get to the root or the roots of the problem. And so we can apply that technique to our minds. And when we have an area of pain or difficulty, in other words, something is going wrong in our lives, or something that's just not the way we want it to be, we can ask ourselves why and continue asking that until we get to the root of the problem. So you want me to give you an example first before we dig into your childhood?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it might be like, Pete is a sales guy and he's not meeting his quotas. So that's an area of pain. That's the problem. And so we ask why. He says, well, I don't, because I'm procrastinating on all my sales proposals. I don't get them out on time. Well, why are you procrastinating? Well, I'm procrastinating because I am a perfectionist and I don't think that anything's ever good enough. And I have a hard time just getting stuff done until it's perfect. Well, why are you a perfectionist? And then he might go back to Pete's childhood story, and maybe his father berated him because everything wasn't perfect, what have you. But basically there's a loop there. He can start to figure out that loop, that thought loop, which is everything has to be perfect, or I'm not good enough, or my best effort's not good enough. And then he can reprogram that with something more like my best effort is good enough, or I'm a great salesperson. But that's the approach, the basic approach. Now, do you have an area of difficulty that you want to explore here?
Yeah, sure. Just real quick on that. A quick question I have is, what if you're doing this why, you're asking why several times, and the guy goes, or the guy or woman says, I don't know why. If I knew why, I wouldn't have this problem.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, sometimes the answer is not readily apparent. And I think that you can sometimes tackle it from a different approach. So it's almost like a decision tree that you're trying to follow down to the roots.
Yeah.
So if one, tree of whys doesn't work, you can go look for another one. And another thing you can do is just sit with it. You can kind of say, all right, I've got this far. I'm not sure. Write it down and commit to coming back and revisiting it in another day or two.
Got it. Okay. Difficulty challenge I have is, I'm just thinking really quickly, like even today, I woke up at 9:30. And
AM or PM?
AM.
Okay, good.
It's just not, it's not exactly the hour that I would like to be waking up at. And I think it starts off my day with like why did I wake up this late? Did I sleep in? So that's the challenge.
Yeah. So why? Why'd you sleep in? See, my job's easy here.
Yeah. For me, it's because I can. A lot of what I do is to create more freedom in my life, but I do know that I want to wake up earlier, or I feel like I should be waking up earlier, because just from reading a lot of successful people who wake up, they wake, the 5 a.m. club, with a lot of the billionaires, multimillionaires inside that club.
Yeah, so I agree. I've read a lot of success literature that says waking up early is important. So you've identified 2 things that are in conflict. One is you sleep in because you can, but the other one is you don't want to sleep in because you desire to have more success. So why is that conflict there? Why do you feel both of those things simultaneously?
Yeah. I feel like it's tough for me to force myself to wake up early, because currently in my life and business, I'm doing really well. Things are growing. This is like the best year I've ever had. Things are just firing on all cylinders. And it's like, I am succeeding. So it's like, why wake up early? Why put myself through that pain? Okay.
So the way you just described it is there's no conflict. So why is it a problem? So if you're doing well already, and the motivation for getting up early is to do well, why is it a problem?
I think behind that, even deeper, is, well, what if? What if you got up earlier? How much more could you be successful? How much more could you crush it? Crush the day? How much more could you get done if you did wake up early? So you're doing well now. And I think in the back of my head, I say, well, what if you're only operating at 70%? And if you wake up early, you could be operating at 100%.
Right. So there's a sense of like potential, unlocked potential. It's a little bit like there's money on the table that I'm not picking up, or it's like there's potential success in me that's not being unlocked because I'm not yet disciplined enough to get up at that hour that I want to. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think we could keep asking why and going even deeper, like why is it a problem? But it seems to me that there's a sense in you of, I am on one level happy with where things are, but on another level, I'm doubting whether I am operating at peak capacity.
Correct.
And that's kind of the tension that exists within there. And so the negative thought loop is like, it's almost like a self-doubt. It's very subtle and very, very small, but it's in the sense of like, am I doing everything I could to be all that I could and as successful as I could be? So there may be a new positive mental loop in there. Like, I am successful. I am operating at my full potential. I'm not operating on all cylinders. And then if you do that, and again, really believe it, usually those actions will then start to appear in your life where you'll really start to be more motivated to get up early in the morning if that's what it is that you need to do. Mm. Did that help?
That does help. And it does bring some clarity. It's something that, I've been consciously like doing 30-day challenges with, and I've succeeded. And then I just kind of fall back into sleeping in because I just work late into the night. Like I just work until 1 or 2 a.m. sometimes, and I enjoy it. I'm productive at night.
Well, that's another thing. You left that part out. So, I mean, if you're working hard and it's just that your rhythm is that you tend to work later and then get up later, I think that everybody's got to find their own rhythm, and that is fine with me. It's more of a question of what's the overall quantity of work, but also what's the overall quality of work, which is probably even the more important question. Are you doing the right things, and are you spending time focusing on the things that are really pushing the needle, pushing things forward?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Good stuff there.
My work here is done.
Exactly.
Not really. We still have
a few minutes here. Yeah. Let's dive into something I call the knowledge round here. So I'm just going to ask you some rapid fire questions. So are you ready, John, for the knowledge round?
I am ready. Is there going to be a timer sound in the background?
Is it worth $10 to get the woman of your dreams? Unveiled at last, a simple proven playbook to go from being a frustrated single man to having the woman of your dreams. A proven strategy so effective that I was scared to unveil this strategy to the world. When I discovered this strategy, I was initially scared to share it with the world. I didn't want to become a dating coach and really didn't want to have the stigma associated with that. However, I knew I had to write this book. I was frustrated with all the pain I saw inside men, stopping them from getting the woman of their dreams. I'd been there, and I wish I'd known this strategy earlier. This strategy will allow even the shyest of men to find and attract the woman of their dreams. You'll learn how to turn the number one barrier stopping men from chasing the women of their dreams, fear of rejection, into your ally. You'll completely eradicate approach anxiety from your psyche forever, and most importantly, you'll acquire the number one trait that women find most attractive, a man of purpose, the grounded man. Inside this book, you won't find any fluff or any filler. I packed this book full of actionable content to help any man get the woman of their dreams. Armed with this book and the desire to change your life, nothing will stop you from going from where you are now to where you want to be in your dating life and relationships. One word of warning. Go to knowledgeformen.com/playbook or simply go to Amazon and search for Dating Playbook for Men. Again, that's knowledgeformen.com/playbook or simply go to amazon.com and just search for Dating Playbook for Men. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, so first question I have for you here is, what advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost or unsure of their purpose?
figure it out. How long are my answers supposed to be? They're supposed to be
kind of shorter. Yeah, just kind of shorter. I mean, that was a pretty deep question. So, but it seems like when someone finds what they're supposed to do, they really start diving into that fully and start seeing more results versus someone who is not on purpose.
Yeah. So know yourself. And I think the more you dig into this mystery of who you are, and you can do that by hacking the mind or figuring out how your mind works, the more your sense of purpose becomes clear to you. So as the ancient Greeks said, know thyself. It's still great wisdom.
Yeah. And what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Fear is a big one. I think fear is a powerful motivator for many of us, but it's a fear of, first of all, that I'm not going to unlock my full potential. That's a big one for me too, Andrew. I can relate to that. But also a fear that, like, well, what if I do unlock my full potential? What if the genie comes out of the bottle? What then? So I think we all have those two conflicting fears in us of I'm not good enough, and yet at the same time, what if I am good enough? And then what will be expected of me? And again, we can learn to overcome those fears by working on them.
Got it. And what would you say are your 2 or 3 most influential books and why?
One of them is called The Road Less Traveled. It's by the famous psychotherapist M. Scott Peck, and it's just a fantastic book about human growth and human potential. It's a little bit dense to read, but it is one of the all-time classics, and for a long time was the top-selling nonfiction book in the world. Another one is the classic Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. My mom bought me a copy of this book when I was 13, and I said, that sounds manipulative, how to win friends and influence people. But I have to say, I have taken those things in all my life and used them again and again. I'm reading it to my own kids now. Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, has used all those principles all his life. They really work. So there's 2 eclectic books for you: The Road Less Traveled and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Sometimes it's just those timeless wisdoms, those classics that you can read over and over again. But you're absolutely right. And how lucky of you to have read or had that book in your hands at 13.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny. I look back now and I'm like, well, I am blessed with many fantastic friends. And I suppose I do have some measure of influence over people. So it really works.
All right. And for all the listeners, you can pick up a copy for free in audiobook format if you go to kfmbook.com. You can check that out, kfmbook.com. And here I have a scenario for you, John. What would you tell your 20-year-old self to do and not to do if you had 60 seconds with him?
I would tell him not to drink. Stop drinking, you idiot. Stop drinking. No, I don't call him an idiot because I totally accept that time of my life and I see it as a great blessing now. But I would say your life after becoming sober will become so much better and everything will unlock for you after you make that decision. So try not to get on that gravy train. And then what to do, I would say buy Wrigley's Spearmint Gum stock because that stock has appreciated like mad since I was 20. So that would have been a good stock pick.
Wrigley, what about like Apple or?
Yeah, those two.
So,
I could
so
probably
many.
give a couple. I'd probably give a couple.
Yeah.
I got time for a few stocks in 60 seconds, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, now reflecting back on things you said, you've built several businesses and written this book and CEO of this current company now. What would you say is your philosophy on like life and success?
Well, I think that your life starts in your mind. I think that your mind is the operating system that runs your life. Everything starts in your mind. And if you can learn to consciously craft the thoughts that are in your mind, if you can learn to reprogram your mind, then you can reprogram your life. We have this saying, if you fix your loops, the thought loops in your head, you fix your life. So change your loops, change your life.
I like that. All right. And so that concludes the knowledge around there. And so what's exciting you today? What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Well, I'm really passionate about sharing this mind hacking program. We've got a project we're working on right now. So we have an app, and there's a 21-day program that goes along with the book where you can learn how to exercise these techniques of mind hacking. And there's an app where you can join the mind hacking movement and communicate with other members of the community. But we're also doing this audio series that goes with the app. So every day there's a series of basically kind of podcasts that you listen to that teach you the techniques, but also we have some things that are sort of like guided concentration exercises and other ways that you can actually put these things into practice. And we've got original music. We're like really producing these. So much like your podcast, it's really fun to be doing something creative in that way, very different from writing a book.
Yeah, it sounds really good. It sounds like a lot of fun projects you're working on. And for all the listeners, you can check out his book, Mind Hacking. It's on Amazon. Doesn't look like it's launched yet. Coming soon. Actually, is the Kindle version launched right now? Is that?
So the hardcover and Kindle edition will be available in January 2016 from Simon & Schuster. But we're doing something unique and releasing this as like an open source book. So you can get a free copy ahead of time at mindhacky.ng. So that's mindhacki.ng, no.com. And you can read the entire book for free. And that's really allowed us to get thousands of beta testers through this mind hacking program and improve and refine the mind hacks in the book based on their feedback. So we hope you'll read it and join the mind hacking movement.
All right. Sounds good. And John, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story and a lot of these invaluable life lessons here with my community and helping me get down with the whys, with why I'm waking up a little bit later. So that's been good. All right, John.
Awesome. Andrew, I just had one last thought, which is get an alarm clock. Very simple. All your problems solved. Alarm clock.
I mean, but the snooze button I'll hit the snooze button. I've got the alarm clock. Trust me.
You got to put it under like some kind of plexiglass dome so there's no snooze action. Just there.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for having me on. This was great.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.